Hey guys, Putzleman 945 here. Welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another movie review. I haven't done a movie review in feels like ages. The I am reviewing today is 100 Meters. Um, I just finished watching it. Um, this is a movie that completely flew under my radar last year. Um, the reasoning for that is because despite how in depth I try to be with when I make my lists for seasonal shows, the things that go by the most are movies, and that's because movies have specific due dates, and they're only one thing, unlike a normal show, which comes out weekly and such, and so therefore I'm like more knowledgeable on the dates of when it's coming out and when I can expect to watch it. But movies are less so, um, especially because the timing of them can be weird. Since like I think the airing date on the website is like uh when it airs in theaters in Japan if the movie is in theaters in Japan. So, like, if it's coming over to Western streaming services like, Netflix or Crunchyroll, uh, then it takes longer. And, in the case of pirate sites, like, it's hard to know how long that will take. Sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it's really fast. So, my point is, like, movies are generally a lot harder to keep track of. Therefore, the 100 meters was one that kind of flew under the radar for me. Similar case to Look Back from 2024. But I watched the movie now, and I can confidently say it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. Um, I don't know if I would. I don't think I would like match the levels of praise that I've heard for this movie in some aspects. Like, um, one of my favorite anime YouTubers, Giguk had, I can't remember if it was an honorable mention on his list or if it was like one of his top ones. But he sang the praise of it really highly, along with a few other people that I know. Um, And, I don't think I can, like, sing its praises to quite the same level, but it was a very good movie. Um, I think I have to start with the animation and direction because, uh, in my opinion, the animation and direction and rotoscoping and everything about the production is by far the most impressive thing about this movie. Um, I I have seen rotoscoping before, but I believe this is like the first full anime, like either movie or show that I've seen with as much like rotoscoping as it has. Like a majority of the animation is through rotoscoping. Um, which really surprised me. And yet incredible decision because it is honestly insane how so many of the motions of like the way they run and the way that they conversate with each other. It's like it's such a weird feeling where it's such a incredible balance struck, I should say, between these movements and these like expressions of the face and body movements that feel so natural. It feels like I'm watching a live conversation between two people, or it feels like I'm actually watching a person run. And yet, there's also this element of the way that the the faces are animated and the way the mouths move and the dialogue, which also reminds me that I am actually watching an anime movie. And it's so interesting the dichotomy between those two elements, and it creates this like type of character interaction through animation. I can honestly say is unlike any other anime, both show or movie that I have really ever seen. And I've seen over 200 animes, so like that's a big thing for me to say. Um, but like beyond the rotoscoping just being genuinely incredible, I was honestly floored again. I'll say like just how realistic and human like so many of the movements looked. It was incredible. um I really like, somehow even more impressive than that is the direction, because the way that the direction, like certain directorial decisions are able to make use of not only the way that certain rotoscoped actions like feel like they really um certain moments of running animation really feel like they're able to um captivate the most intense part of the action. It feels like the the direction is perfectly in line with that and like matches up to the intensity of those high octane action movements perfectly. Um and that's what I think makes the running sequences in this movie absolutely incredible, because it's a mix of the fantastic rotoscoping and also the incredibly in-depth facial animation and the um direction of the um like the different camera angles and the way that each different camera angle surrounds and switches between the perspectives of the runners. It's amazing. Um, by far my favorite scene, directorially, animation wise, like all three of those aspects combined together that I just talked about. By far my favorite scene in the movie, not only because of that, but also because of the great character depth, is um the scene where it's like the last race before the third act of the movie begins, where they're running in the rain. The entire sequence of them running in the rain, and you just see the the camera angle. And this is like the best directional choice in the entire film to me, is just the way that like it literally looked like a guy holding a camera, and there is just this camera angle that slowly walks and pans around the entire track and field, um showing everything in the ring. And like that shot was just a genuine masterpiece. I've never seen any kind of directional shot like that before. It was so cool. And then like following that, the the way that at the end of the scene, like the rain just gets more and more intense and just like continues to pelter the ground harder and harder until the screen eventually goes white and Togashi's silhouette just fades into the background. Oh my god, that was a masterpiece of a shot. Like wow, this movie has got to have some of the most impressive direction I think I have ever seen. Um, and I feel like that's a lot for me to say because not because I have high standards for direction, but actually, um, sort of the opposite in that I don't really know that many directors still, and I don't feel like I know very much what makes good directorial standards, I guess. Like, I can definitely identify when something is very beautiful anime like this movie was, but I feel like I'm not very good at telling when there's great direction, and yet this this movie had such incredible direction that even a dumbass like me who doesn't really know how to identify good direction was able to point out the incredible things about the direction of this movie. I probably said the word direction like 100 times in this video. Um uh so you know that was my majority talking point because I genuinely think the animation and the direction and everything like that, the entire production side of this movie, including the music, the OST was absolute banger. I need to mention that in this video somewhere. The OST was an absolute banger. Like another reason that entire shot in the rain is my favorite scene in the movie is because the OST goes absolutely nuts in that scene. It's like all the dialogue gets completely muted as all the runners are being introduced and the music just increases in volume and it's this incredible aesthetic that adds so much to the already incredible visual direction of the scene. Okay, I'm done talking about why that's my favorite scene in the movie. Uh, I wanted to mention the music, and that's another part of the reason why that shot in the rain is by far my favorite shot in the movie. But now I'm going to talk about the actual story and characters. So I'd heard that um this movie, or at least what the source material is written by the same author as Orb on the Movements of the Earth, which um I consider that anime to be absolute masterpiece, really. Um I have talked at length about it. Um at least more than once. I've made my own dedicated video on Orb and why I thought it was fucking incredible. So needless to say, I had decent expectations, and I can safely say that they were met. Not exceeded, but met in this movie in terms of the characters and the story. Um I really liked I mean, my favorite character personally was Kaido just because I fucking love any kind of like character that is this archetype of older dude that can still um that can still show off and be better occasionally than a younger generation. I fucking love that archetype. And so therefore he is my favorite character because of how well he embodies that archetype that I absolutely love. Um Honestly, like from what I heard about this movie, I kind of expected Tomiya to be the main character of the movie, and he definitely is one of the main characters, but he's not the protagonist. That's Togashi. And that definitely was something that I did not expect. I thought that Tomiya would be the protagonist, and it would sort of like focus on his struggle to get better. But in actuality, I like the direction that the story went even more than my expectations because I think the idea of um well, number one, I love another archetype of character that I love is characters that are really good in childhood that end up degrading in ability as they become adults. I think that this is a character trope that will never get old because it is always captivating to see. And I think that Togashi in this movie is a fantastic example of that. Because it's really interesting to see like um how he sort of copes with the fact that his ability is decreasing slowly over time. Um And another one of the just best scenes in the movie, hands down, is the scene where he just breaks down and sobs after giving running tips to the two kids. Like, that was a really powerful scene, and like just seeing the subtle ways that his character changed after that were really really well done in my opinion. Now obviously I mentioned Komiya. Um, he is predominantly within the first part of the movie. Um, but I find it really interesting how like um his entire character arc is one that is sort of entirely like all of his development is done via background detail. And I think that that is such a unique way to develop a character, and it's not a thing that's done very much because it is a ballsy move to take with a character because it can very easily be done wrong in a way that completely diminishes the impact and development a character can have because you're not giving them any screen time to develop. Therefore, there is a lot of risk, and yet Tomiya's character gets it right, I think, because through the limited scenes that he is shown in the second and third acts of the film, you can tell through his interactions with other runners, specifically Togashi, because their dynamic and friendship is at the core of the film. Um, like you can tell from the way that Togashi talks to him, like how his character has changed. And I think the fact that that kind of um like way where his character is developed through only background detail in the latter half of the film is honestly extremely impressive. Um what other characters are there to talk about? I really liked Sunida as well. He has a limited role in the film, and yet another very, very good scene is where he like crashes out on Komiya's like terrible running form, and Komiya just like has absolutely zero reaction whatsoever. Um I thought that was really interesting because before that he was quite a muted character in terms of his reactions and interactions with other characters, and yet that entire scene he just lets out all the energy, and I thought that was really well displayed. um oh yes, Nagami was a pretty significant character as well. um Nagami I don't have as much to say on because he doesn't um like most of his development is in the second part of the film, but it's not as central as Togashi or Komiya. But I did still quite like his character, his journey from his like transition from being um the like pressure of being the son of a great runner and like doing really well himself and expecting to win, to kind of like regaining his uh what's the word I'm thinking of? Regaining his juve? No, that's not right. Groove. That's it. That's the word I'm thinking of. Jeez. Um, regaining his groove in the second part of the movie where they're in high school, um, and then like in the final act where he kind of like makes less screen appearances, but it really seems like he sort of made peace with himself, and the way that um Higashi is able to learn from that is also great. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend it if um you haven't seen it, you happen to miss it like me from last year. I highly recommend watching it because um it was a very good movie. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.